How's it going, brother?
There you are. What happened, man?
Yeah. I was waiting. I was all like, oh, this guy's not gonna.
You think I was gonna flake out or what?
Yeah. How's everything, man?
Yeah. Nah. All right. Where
What's
you
up,
at? Where you at?
Jesse? What's up, man? How's it going?
We got Ness. We got Jess up in this piece. And what's
Yeah, I
up?
have. I'm here at ideas right now at once.
Cool, man. He's gonna show up, right? You're gonna talk idea. Can you hear me?
Yeah, he can hear you.
Hold up.
Hey, I
Get
know
in there.
that,
Get in
dude.
there. What's up,
What's up,
dude?
player? What's cracking?
All right. You're gonna get in on this, right?
Maybe. I
Maybe.
want to hear your stories, bro.
All right.
I got my
let's
mullet going. I haven't cut my hair since August, so
let's check it out. Let's check it out. Dang, you got the mullet and you got the ponytail at the
the
back,
samurai.
the
Yeah, I
samurai
got the
ponytail.
yeah.
Well, hell yeah, dude. Was welcome, dude. Thank you for saying yes, man. And you've been
Right.
on my list for like a long time. We talked about that. The first time I heard you guys talk, I'm gonna say their name,
Yeah, Sweet Jesus Radio. Yeah,
Sweet
shout out to
Jesus
those guys.
Radio, to his podcast. Shout out. That's when I heard you guys, you, Ness, and Idea. And I was like, oh man, I want to hear more. I want to hear more, man. I'm like, oh, I need to get this guy on. So here we are, man. And yo, we're gonna go back. I want to get I want to get the story of graffiti in the 90s, like what it
What
was
up,
like
first?
around maybe like 90, 92 or so,
Yeah, 92.
92, 93, right?
Yep.
92. That's when it started popping off here in El Paso, and it got crazy. And we're definitely gonna hear your story. Um,
Yeah.
I wanna, I wanna, I wanna talk about how I started seeing that. When I
All
first
right.
saw it, I think it was with Idea.
What up,
All
Stoic?
right, it was
Yeah.
Idea, Blue. I ran into them at the
That's me.
Shellmont Center. That's when we were skating. We were skating kind of hard at the time, and then they were talking to me about this stuff that they were doing, dude. And I started seeing all the graffiti stuff, and I was like, oh shit. And I just gravitated towards that. And being creative as I was, I like to create, I like to do art, and I just gravitated to that, man. And I think a lot of people did as well too. The styles, and everybody had like their own style. And then I saw my last day of 8th grade, someone had taken a streak to school. And at the sharpener, man, they were writing all their names, dude. It was I'm not gonna say the names, man, but they were writing. It was
Yeah.
Dust. It was Dust and these other
Yeah.
dudes, and they were writing stuff because they were starting their own little thing at the time. And I saw that and I was like, oh shit, well, Mom, what the fuck did they write with? And that just blew me away, man. The mean streaks. They were writing with
Right.
the mean streaks at the time. And then of course when I saw Blue and Idea and Sean, I mean, and Ask got down,
Yeah.
man, and I was like, oh snap! And then of course Heck, and I was like, oh shit, like dude, I want in on this, man.
Yeah.
And I did, dude, and got the markers and stuff, and got crossed out by Ness, dude, early on in the game, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was crazy stuff, man.
That's our introductions to each other. Say
And
like I don't know, remember the book called Can Art?
yep,
Spray can art?
yeah, I think I saw it. It has like all the pictures,
Yeah.
right?
Scene and all those. Uh that book, and there was another one they made also. The same author. And
Yeah.
he made them like in the 80s, early 80s. And those were the books that introduced me back in those days, back like in the 80s, right? In 89, I actually started writing, but I was a rocker, punk rocker. Like, I mean, rocker, heavy metal and all that. But the graffiti and punk are as related as hip hop and graffiti, right? Graffiti and hip hop, punk and hip hop are related to each other too. A lot of people don't know that the first time people actually heard hip hop in the radio was Blondie singing, her song with Fat Five and all that stuff. It was through the punk scene. It was where it started to go a little bit more mainstream from the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And So it goes with our, just like you were also like a rocker. We weren't really hip hop. We were at that time when it got kind of introduced. I don't know if it was like that for you. We're
Yeah, it was.
more uh, we're more a little different than hip hop, right? We didn't because graffiti started here in El Paso. There's artists that were way before us taggers. There's artists that were painting and they'll do airbrush. And I don't know if you remember, a lot of these guys will wear those overalls with one overall down. You know how they
Yeah,
snap the overall? And they'll
yeah,
have graffiti on their leg. And it was a guy airbrushing, right? So there was graffiti influence, but it was just not known. It was just unknown. And this is when we're talking about 88, 89. I'm talking about El Paso. It was known in other
yeah.
cities. I got my cousin locked up. My cousin Trooper, shout out to my cousin Trooper. He was locked up, and he was locked up with his cat named Chaka, right? Everybody heard about Chaka, but he was
Yeah.
locked up with him in 1990, 1990, 91. He was locked up with him during that time. And over here, we didn't really have graffiti yet. So I heard about him a little bit. So me being about to start Burgess, right? Because we were talking about Ross
Yeah.
and Burgess, Mr. Villanueva and stuff.
Shout out to Ross and Burgess.
So I would always be an alternative, always, since sixth grade till I finished, and I would pick up my schedule in the morning. I mean, in the summer for the beginning of the school year, and it would say alternative, no classes, it's alternative. But finally, they gave me a chance in '92 to enter the regular classes, and that's when Ness and Idea, shout out to Ness, and not Idea, Ness and Marcelo. That's where I met them because they barely moved from California to El Paso.
Dude,
Uh,
that was the year, man, that I got thrown back to the fucking eighth grade, man. I would have
yeah,
been there right there with you guys, man, but
yeah,
I was back at Ross, man. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to interrupt and shit. I
yeah.
just got a
No, no,
little flashback
yeah,
on that shit.
yeah. It reminds me of how they used to treat. See, the thing is, back in the day, this is what I really give so much props to the school system is they don't ignore you. Like back in the day, they will put you on a list and you'll be blacklisted, and that will kind of carry on throughout your school days, right?
Yeah.
And so that's probably what happened is like, you know what, get them back. But so let's go back to the story. And so Ness moved in, and I could tell that he was a graffiti writer because I was already kind of introduced to it. And I'm like, hey, you write? And he's like, yeah. And he starts telling me that he writes, and he's from California, and I meet Marcelo and in an art class, Ms. Graham. I mean, shout out to Ms. Graham. She was a good art teacher, but she was kind of losing it by the time we got there. She was like in
Oh,
her 80s, you
damn.
know? Yeah, she was already balding, but she was cool. She was
Yeah.
cool. Like she actually was more open to people being free with her art.
Yeah.
She wasn't telling you how to draw. She was just saying draw, and these are the subjects, and your influence, no matter if it's something that, because at that age, you're drawing marijuana plants or you're doing
Yeah.
some stupid, thing.
Mushrooms and shit.
Yeah. And she's
It's
like,
it's still
whatever.
happening. It's still happening, man. I still see that.
Yeah. And they're like, she embraced it. And she's like, okay, but use this style, use this shading,
Yeah.
and you're like shading
Values,
your,
man.
yeah. So she's still taught. Shout out to her. So I meet Marcelo, and first thing he tells me is, "What up, Gio?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is Gio?" I'm thinking it's like a slang from California. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what up, Gio?" And he's like, "Nah, you remind me of my homeboy Gio from California, from SDK." And I go, "SDK, what's that?" And he's, "It's a graffiti crew. It's me and my brother. They brought it from Alhambra. Shout out to California crew. That crew started. SDK started in 1988. Okay, it's an old school crew. It comes out in a lot of these Los Angeles art books and stuff. The history of graffiti in Los Angeles. So I got in, and it was only five of us. Two cats from El Paso, me and Manny Avila,
Shout out.
Ness, Marcelo, and Excel and Art. Shout out to Art. Um, and Art. and Excel were the OGs. They're the ones that were really from Alhambra, fucking SDK or OGs, and they start talking to us about what it's about, right? The reason I got in, and I'm probably a lot of kids, is because in 1989 and 88, Fatherless and Diablo were killing each other in the streets, and a lot of people were in gangs. Were like, you got to be in a gang, which like even if the gang was other than those two gangs were the city was split. You know, you could be from, I'm just gonna give an example.
Yeah.
You could be from like HK. HK will bang with Diablo. So even if all these little gangs will be on that side, and all these other gangs will be on the fatherless side. And these guys were actually killing each other. I was a little kid and remember cars passing by, and you ducking at a drive-by. So growing up with that, and then somebody gives you the alternative of graffiti, of something that's art. My dad's an architect. I grew up drawing. My uncle's an art teacher. Art's really into our family, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm not gonna gang bang no more. I don't want to gang bang. I was already headed towards that gang banging way of life, uh, carrying a gun at 12 and stuff like that, doing crazy, right?
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, I'm gonna get into this. Yeah, it's art, you know? And you're like, cool, it's like a game. They started telling me, you know, we're tagging, it's a competition, trying to get up. You hear and then we went tagging the first day, and they called me and Fatal a toy. Marcelo and the guys from California, and they're like, because they saw our writing. Our writing was ugly. There's no such thing as writing. Graffiti wasn't like that. Graffiti before that was drawings, like sketches.
Yeah. And then you had that gang graffiti too.
Yeah, you didn't really see the murals that you see now. You see the Segundo Barrio murals, but you don't see them. You didn't hear about graffiti like that. So I hear that we're hearing the rules for the first time of what bases, and then they're telling you, you got the heavens, which are like the top notch. You hit the heavens, man, you're king. You know, just giving you the rules of what's what, right? And so I was like, I'm in charge of the heavens, and it was kind of funny because there's this kid that doesn't know, he's barely learning about graffiti, and he's like, I'm gonna hit the heavens. So it was kind of something to laugh at, but I ended up like really putting that in my head, like I'm gonna do it. I just wanted to be angst against the city, angst against not the city, but against like how I was treated. You know, I had a lot of angst. I was a punk rocker. I was a kid that carried a gun at 12. You know what I mean? Like just crazy stuff. And I wasn't like a crazy gangbanger. I was just a regular kid. But sometimes shit happened in the neighborhood where you're doing shit, you're learning shit. You know, I learned how to fight because my older homeboys. I grew up in a barrio. My older homeboys got the boxing gloves, and they're like, "Hey, call your little brother, box." You know, you learn how to fight through the neighborhood. You get toughened through the neighborhood, playing chichilagua, playing wall ball, right? Even little simple games were tough, right? And so it was kind of like an escape. And back to where they're telling me the rules, and I'm like, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do the heavens and stuff. And so I'm learning. They only wanted us five to be in the crew, but me and Manny were like, hell no, this shit is gonna grow. There's a lot of people that I know will they need this better than being in the hood, right? You could tell there was a need for it. And it grew like wildfire. Victor, I'm talking about in 1 month we're in class, and it became where like it was a secret membership. You're in class and somebody would be like, hey, are you part of it? And I'm like, hell yeah. And they start finding out. Next thing you know, our group was one of the biggest groups in the high school, where they wouldn't even let us walk around together. They'll have to split us up. And there's all these traditional gangs that were there, like Fatherless, like Diablo, like San Juan, who have always been there for generations. And they're like, what the fuck is this big ass group walking around, right? And the purpose of us to getting in that scene was because like we said, it was still friendly. It was when you pass by another graffiti writer, you're right, yeah, wonder. It was a community.
It's like we're all doing the same shit. Yeah.
We're all doing the same thing, and coming out with our own letters. So we're barely structuring the school, barely structuring who we were, and I started seeing how it grew and grew fast. And usually, when you start something, even with the purpose of it, like being something peaceful, if when you're at that age, if you start a group, an opposite pops out, right? You
Oh yeah.
start, right? But at the same time, while we're doing our stuff, other people are doing their stuff, right? The other crews are starting to get organized, and you see wonders, and you start hearing names from crews from California, from Albuquerque. You have other crews that are created in other cities because they're already at the 2 years, 4 years, 5 years ahead of us. They're already were, established. So we end up taking the responsibility of the name of the crew. With the crew, you end up getting the responsibility of making sure you hit the standard of the guys that do it in California, because their standard is legendary. So you have to start training yourself to at least try. And we're
Yeah.
not there seeing their legendary acts. We're hearing it. So it's an figment of imagination what you're trying to reach. So you either reach it, or sometimes you overdo it, or you don't do enough, right? Uh, so that's how it was easy eventually. I'm tagging and stuff. We're tagging. It gets to the point where me and King, remember King, shout out to King,
Shout out.
we're kicking it. We're still, the crew's already big. It's all right, getting around 40, 50 people. It's starting to get big enough. I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I ended up getting a bag of spray cans for my birthday on September. All right. And I was born in Labor Day weekend. So they give me a big bag of spray cans. And I'm like, bing, it popped in my head. I'm like, tonight I'm hitting the freeway signs with King. And at 2 in the morning on Labor Day, because it's a 3-day weekend, 2 in the morning, we end up waking up, just walking to the freeway, man. When you're so young, you have so much of the day and the night. Time just goes slow.
Yeah.
Man, we ended up tagging 10 freeway signs in that one night. Boom, climbed up to 10, all in the front of Burgess. The next night, we did 10 more. So at the end, it became 18 freeway signs in the weekend.
Which was the first one that you hit?
The
You
one on
remember like the
Geronimo.
first one, the Geronimo one, right?
Yeah. That one, because it was right by the house. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, so while I'm telling the story, I want people to know that I'm not saying go do this. This is just sharing stories, right?
Yeah.
We're just
Of course.
sharing stories. I'm not, condoning or endorsing the lifestyle, but we're just talking about that lifestyle. So I started hitting them, boom, 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 and then the next day, and there in those days the freeway signs were built easier to climb. They had
Yeah.
like this were crisscross.
Yeah, they
They
weren't
just
all
walk in the
rounded out
middle.
like they are now and
Yeah.
shit.
So we tagged
Bunch
those.
of beans.
Uh, the ones that were very, very scary and hard were the billboards on the side of the freeway. Because while we're tagging on those, me and Andy, we start climbing these billboards on the side of the freeway, 4 stories high, 3 stories high, with a 2 foot little walking plank. You know, tagging. Your spray can falls, it blows up. And we've had people waiting for us at the bottom of the stairs for us to when we jump down. You end
Yeah.
up jumping down that you're running. So we end up tagging 18 freeway signs, uh, like 10 billboards from past Isla Vista all the way to Executive and all the way going towards the Northeast and back. It
Got
was a
like 10 and
fuckload.
54. Yeah.
Yeah. So when people woke up in the morning, right, and the weekend was over, the news was coming out, 2020 Nightline. Uh, Power 102 was making commercials with Ross Perot speaking about having those guys that tag the freeway sign write his name because he was running against Clinton. It started becoming something so big, blah, that the first newspaper article on graffiti was written in El Paso. The first time they put the word tagger and explained what tagger was.
Yeah.
A whole article on Sworn to Kill was written because it became such a, imagine your whole fucking freeways tagged up, all the freeway signs and all the billboards and you never seen this in your city. It ended up putting the word graffiti and tagger in the mouths of regular, normal people. Normal, regular people started talking about graffiti. Like, who the fuck tagged that shit? And they just, even though if it was bad,
Yeah.
it was put into the vocabulary of the non-graffiti people, right? And there was always graffiti writers, but I think we kind of pushed the envelope there, where we gave it to the non. Even though it was bad, I'm telling you, it was bad. It had death threats. Uh, People would say it, and I know you remember. Yeah, I catch somebody tagging on I'm gonna shoot them, right? Like, and if they actually realize who these people that are tagging, they're probably like 14, 15-year-old kids, 16-year-old
Yeah.
kids. You're gonna shoot somebody in the head when they still have a future to build on.
Like,
Maybe, you know what I mean? But the media could really make you a bad guy, and that you start thinking that their life ain't worth, or those people and those sides, and that you know how it is. We just saw it
yeah.
last year. You know how they do the groups, right? So
Yeah.
they kind of did that. But with that, it kind of made it grow so fast. And at the same time, when I wrote on the freeway signs, some guys wrote too. They saw it, and they're like, suddenly a competition came out.
Yeah.
Suddenly DK, right, that same day, and Direct and the KCSers, right? And so all these other people wrote too. They didn't write as much. They tried to catch up to all the freeway signs, right? But they wrote too, and it brought a competition. Hip hop has naturally competitive. It's naturally competitive. We rap, talking, dissing, battling. We dance, battling. We write, battling. It's very competitive. It's a competitive uh, culture and stuff. And it ended up growing so much that so we had another crew that was our opposite crew, like OFA, you know, and it ended up becoming where it was beef, where the art was over almost. Because the
Yeah.
thing is this, we gotta explain the graffiti writers from my days and the ones now. The ones from my days, it was just about shock and getting up and being the king of a city. You want to get up all over kill the whole city. You want your name and scribbled everything, and makes a
Yeah.
city look like a city of decay. You want it to look like a city of decay. That was the truth. And the beauty is that now we make graffiti makes a city rejuvenate. You can make
Right.
a bad neighborhood look beautiful, and
Yeah.
that's the amazing part of graffiti, right?
Those same
It
cats,
came from
man, and
something.
everybody
Yeah,
had their piecers, man. And
yeah,
those are the dudes that beautified those areas,
yeah.
and they're the ones that were
And
putting
that's what they're
it back
doing
into
now.
the community.
That's what they're doing now. That's what I love about. There's still the subculture. We got our bombers like my homeboy Soak who does the trains, and we got the train culture is so big, and they do the murals there. And then we got people that make a living and travel the world doing murals, but they all came from one place. They all came from what I'm talking about, the stories that we're talking about,
Yeah.
the getting up, the tagging, the the homegirls in our crew to get in. They had to tag a fucking bus they had to tag a bus in the daytime.
Yeah.
In the daytime, a lot of guys wouldn't even do that. So that's what made our crew kind of strong. That and being organized. We could throw a meeting and everybody would be there, make a message, and everybody would leave with that same message. And a lot of these other crews that we would be with or battle, they didn't have that organization as us and love for each other, bro. We really truly, I believe we feel like we're family. Cause I mean, like, look, I'm at Idea's house. I'm 45 years old,
Yeah.
kicking it with my whole idea, talking to my friend Zong. You know what I mean? Like, there's a love there, and and I think a lot of people don't have that. Didn't carry each other like that. We
Have
had.
Have you heard from like? Did you ever talk to people from other crews about that? Like, did they ever tell you like, oh, you guys do
Yes,
this, oh, you guys do that, like, and comparing
yes,
like how
yes,
you guys were, like the
yes.
love you guys
Well,
had in the meetings, and they were like,
I
were others like dysfunctional at points at times?
yes, yes. That's something that was cool about being with other crews. Or so during our time, we had our time. We had a
Yeah.
little time. There was other crews that were starting to sprout out, and when they were sprouting out, a lot of those that were starting new crews actually had some kind of roots with our crew. Either they were once a member, or they knew somebody, or they would hang out, and they kind of saw our organization. So when they started their crew, they kind of adopted a lot of the ideas of just the organization part of our crew, right? I used to get my shout out to my homeboy Gibbs. He that's the
Shout out
thing is when
Gibbs.
you have respect for each other, right? My homeboy Gibbs will be like, "Hey, this is happening with my crew." He's not asking me to tell him what to do. He's asking for advice because he knows that I'm a little older. I have a little bit. I've been through. I've seen it all with our crew, right? It's like a lot of people won't know is that I was one of the leaders of the crew, so I had to be like this person and kind of navigate it. It's still wild. Everybody has free thought and free, but you kind of like focus the where we're going. You're
Yeah.
like, today we have a battle. We're battling everybody on Montana. You got this section, I
I
got
remember
this
that one.
section. Remember, we used to
Yeah.
really have a strategy and battle these. That's why we rarely lost any battles. I don't think we lost any fucking tag battles. And so is our organization. So a lot of crews actually will ask or seen it. A lot of crews that were cool with us, like DK in the beginning was a cool crew with us. They ended up becoming like our rival. And it was because they had to test themselves and measure themselves. And they're not going to just measure themselves with any other crew. They have to measure themselves with a worthy opponent. And we're a
Yeah.
worthy opponent. You know what I
That's when,
mean? So,
yeah, when I saw that, I was tripping out, man, because I dug DK Styles, man, and like,
yeah, yeah,
well,
they're these.
whoever was writing for, I guess, the roll calls, man, I was like, dude, that's dope. And then later on, of
Yeah.
course, that happened. I was like, oh shit.
We had fucking WEC, FKS, FUS. We had ATS. I mean, there's a lot of crews that are brothers to us that are like, see, the thing is that now at this age, they're like I said, we're family, and we think about those days. And some people hold new animosity of something that happened in life now, and they stop talking and stuff. But at the end, we all share those memories, good or bad. It made us grow. It made us. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a professional now. You're an art teacher. You're a professional now. But besides people that are in the art community, there's a lot of professional ex graffiti writers that are
Yeah.
lawyers, nurses, doctors, and they have that funk in them. They have that little bit of graffiti funk inside them,
Oh yeah, you could
and
always tell.
yeah, you know, and there's a lot of people that you wouldn't know that. Oh shit, you used to write. There's people on TV that you wouldn't know that we're ex graffiti writers. It tackles all of us. But the beautiful thing is where it's evolved now is now it's about art more.
Yeah.
Now you have to really craft your skill. You can still have that hunger of getting up everywhere, but you can actually focus it on something, a media. You could become a professional, become a celebrity off your graffiti. Before we didn't have any of that option. You know, like I said, the media kind of put us in a box and kind of made us all the bad guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, we
They made it seem like it was
which
a real ugly thing to do, and
yeah, and to a point, it because of the way we made the city look decayed,
yeah.
it was it was well deserved. But if they actually notice how many people in their family were in graffiti, especially now, I bet there's a bunch of kids that their mom used to write. Their mom has a nickname. You know, if your parents have a
Yeah,
nickname
right.
that doesn't sound like puppet or gangster, and it sounds weird like Zonk, and it sounds like Geo, and it sounds like they were probably graffiti writers. If they have a weird nickname, it's because your mom and dad were probably a graffiti writer, right?
Yeah.
And, and which is cool. I mean, it's still alive. I got homeboys that are in California doing a lot of work. People here in El Paso still doing a lot of work. Uh, we got people that are older than me that are doing some hard work, really professional, hands up, giving scholarship to kids for art. It's beautiful because you see the growth. The only thing I wish is we had more focus. You know, when it came to, we didn't care about money. We never cared about money. We're poor kids. We cared about the moment and making the moment beautiful and fun and adventures and stories. And maybe if we would have focused a little bit on how to make it monetary, we
Yeah.
would have probably been able to be hear about us, but like as artists or as DJs or disc jockeys or something, we could have pretty much pushed it, but we ended up doing that
Yeah.
on our own. But
I think with that, like idea when we'd be at lunch and then he'd be like, all right, my bus is here, I'm taking off, I'm going to tech and shit, right? I don't know if idea could hear me on
yeah,
this.
tech, yeah. I used to
I
go to
would
tech. Yeah, you can.
I would hear him talk about it. I'm like, what are you doing over there, man? What are you doing at tech? He's like, oh, we're doing screen printing and shit like that, right? And I'm like, oh, that sounds dope. But I didn't think about that. I'm like, you know what? Oh crap, I want to do that. I want to get my grades up. I want to get to tech and I want to learn that shit. Nah, I had other things on my mind. And I think that's what happened with a lot of us is that we didn't think about our futures in that way. We just thought about now what we're gonna do. We're gonna fucking tech shit up, we're gonna party.
And,
But you got idea walking into that bus, thinking about his future and shit. And
right.
an idea, you could hear me, man. You should have preached that shit to us, man. You should have preached that shit.
Right.
Like, yo, hey,
But he probably knew these guys ain't listening.
nah, dude. I was like, damn. And I think about that now. And I talk to students. Be like, yo, what do you want to do? Yo, get that shit. Think about your future, man, and go on that bus, go to tech, go to these schools, and do it.
Something that probably a lot of people don't really know is that one time I rolled down everybody that we had. We had around 400 and something people in our crew, right? Our crew was Burgess, Montwood, Jefferson, Los Clarkers, Austin. Our crew went to high schools and were pretty spread out. We had East Side crew, we had West Side, Northeast,
we had
Central.
A couple at Irvin, right?
You're right, yeah. So we had the Northeast heads, we had all that. And and the city ended up, so when the battle happened, the city ended up kind of splitting. Blah, you're either with OFA, the BNKs, the DKs, and graffiti world, and in the mid '90s, or you're with SDK, the Wexters, the AT, it kind of split, and these crews started becoming mega crews, where it was not just the SDK, but SDK was with all these brother crews, and it became this stack against this stack. It started becoming pretty crazy. And at the same time, I think our mentality was, to be honest, was we ended up losing a lot of friends during that time. A lot of friends, brothers and stuff passed away. A lot of people started passing away. So I think a lot of us just lived for the moment because we didn't know how the future was going to be for a lot of us. So a lot of us never planned 45. A lot of us never planned, any these ages that we're hitting. And it's really cool. It is really cool to actually hit these ages and reflect on those times. But at the same time, it's funny because I have kids, right? You have your kids, and when you try to share these stories, you don't want to share them and make them where they're like, they get excited, too excited,
They want to do it.
Because I caught my daughter doing throw ups, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, I do an assignment. I do a graffiti assignment, dude, for my classes. I've done it for a long time, and every time I do it, I think, oh man, like who's gonna come out and start doing this shit? But luckily, I haven't seen a lot. There hasn't been a lot of growth, and sometimes I'll show style wars, man, and only like one. There'll always be just like one kid that's sitting there just looking at it, and he's that dude, man.
We
He's
looked
like,
at
oh
it
shit.
with the same eyes.
Yeah, the same eyes. Like you look at them, they're just like they're glued, and everybody's on their phones and stuff. They don't give a shit. And I tell them like, dude, this is like the only art movement that was started by kids your age, man. I'm like, dude, whole graffiti.
Very true.
They love it. They love that thing, dude, and they love doing it. And man, they have so much fun with that, man. I hear like a year later or 2 years later, oh, we're gonna do that assignment. My friend did it, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do it. They're like, oh, they get so excited, like, hell yeah, dude. They do their letters and everything, man. It's awesome, dude.
It has influenced art so much. It's that now it's being sold for millions, right? With Keith and John Basquiat, they kind of like put it out there with Andy Warhol, but it is starting to become so it's commercialized now. You have designers, people designing cars that are graffiti influenced without them knowing. You know, another graffiti artist can notice certain things that they do, certain edges, certain corners, certain dynamics that graffiti artists add. So a lot of your stuff that you have at home probably was once touched by a kid, you know, that had graffiti. Was probably his first sketchbook was a graffiti sketchbook, and then it
Yeah.
became more professional. Um,
Yeah.
I, it's pretty interesting how it's grown. Uh, I tell kids, I go, look, if you have a dream, if you have a vision, you just start going towards your dream. You start working and go a little by little. You're like a sailboat. You might not land exactly where you're at, where that's exact coast, like the spot, but you'll be on that. You'll be on the coast. You'll be part of the business. You know, the art business or
Yeah.
the art world. You know, you gotta. Yeah, is something maybe that people need to start discussing is art jobs, right? You got art jobs out there. A lot of people don't know about, but a lot of friends of mine are tattoo artists. They do well as a tattoo artist. They do well as a graphic designer. You know, there's muralists. A lot of friends of ours do muralists. They do well doing being muralists, and these are jobs that kids sometimes feel like they don't have a future or they can't have a boss over them.
Yeah.
And these are a lot of jobs that give you so much freedom, right? The pressure is different. It's not pressure
Yeah.
like behind you. It's a different type of pressure. And it would be really good for kids to really see, you know, doctors are good and all that, but
I mean,
also what's really important is being happy when you wake up. I'm
yeah,
happy to
man.
do this.
You know,
I'm
a
happy.
lot of the kiddos, they don't have people telling them, "Hey, like, dude, check, like, dude, you're doing that graffiti shit. Yo,
Yeah,
why don't you look into some typography, man? Look
yeah,
into doing your own fonts and stuff, and telling them that there is a place in the world for that talent. You know, graphic
yes,
design. Yo, go into graphic design. People are gonna seek you out. They're gonna seek your styles, man, and they're gonna want that for their advertising and shit. And
yeah.
you could do freelance and be heavily sought after, man.
Yes,
Right?
you could work to where you're your own boss. Just the only thing it's hard for an artist to manage money, to think about how much is this worth. You know, to you, you're like, because you want to make the quick buck, you'll say something dumb like, I'll sell it to you for like $40.
Yeah.
And a guy that's collecting art is not collecting art to buy a $40 painting. He wants to buy a $10,000 painting, $50,000 painting, $60,000 painting. If you would have just said it's worth $60,000, he would have paid it. But
Yeah.
because he said $40, he's
He's
like,
like,
oh,
I
I'm
gotta
not even
put.
gonna look at the rest of his artwork.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to put value into your work.
Like
Some
devaluing
people,
yourself. Yeah.
yes, and
And
especially because artists are hippies, bro. We're not good about money, capitalizing on our stuff. It's hard for us to think like that. Only a very
yeah.
few of us know how to do it. And
Yeah.
props to those guys.
And those are the things that they teach you in college, man. And I know during my time at college, I'm not saying everybody needs to go to college and shit because you really
Right.
don't. But
But
what
it
I've learned
helps.
in college is like they opened up this new class, man, that we all had to take, and it was for learning how to price your artwork and shit, knowing your value, man, putting a dollar amount on your time, all that shit, dude. And you could pass that stuff to other kiddos that aren't going to go to college and shit. Because you get kiddos that are like, hey, how much do I charge for this painting? How much did you
Yeah.
fucking spend? How many hours did you put into that shit? Yo, times that times fucking $20 an hour, $30 an hour and shit. You know, and there you go. Then you are pricing your stuff, man. And a lot of the
Another
kiddos,
thing
they get lost and they get ripped off because there's not a lot of people passing
it
that
could burn you
info,
out
man.
even as a grown up. Even as a grown up. So you never sell yourself short. You start selling yourself short, you give a discount, and you'll end up staying at that discount.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to be a
And
real
and,
stickler,
and I'm
dude.
not saying that you hook up your friends and all that, and you kind of the way I do it with my friends. Sometimes I'll be like, "What do you think it's worth?" Like, you know, to friends only. Because once I start giving a price, my friend's gonna say, "Hey, he gave it to me for $40, right?" And
Yeah.
then you start selling everything for $40, right? And not everything's worth the same.
Yeah.
But going back to the graffiti, I was talking to you about this, about subcultures and cultures. Every generation grows subcultures. Every generation has a little culture for young, for the youth, and something that this new generation doesn't have the same kind of subcultures the way ours were learned. For
Yeah.
example, an album's gonna come out, you wait in line for that album, and you will listen to the whole album. Uh, Clothing style will be pushed not through really through the media of TV or the phone.
Magazines and
Oh,
all that.
yeah, it will come in slowly. So you actually see how fads will grow, and that's why things are faster nowadays. Fads will come and go. Subcultures will blow and bloom and disappear. But a subculture always becomes culture. Not always, but most of the time. If it has the durability, like jazz, the subculture of jazz, blues players, right? They used to hang out and play the blues. It ends up going to the limelight, and next thing you know, you hear it goes to where the decades passed. It goes through its evolution, and not that it gets watered down, but it becomes so mainstream that, like I was telling you, you could be in an elevator and you're hearing jazz, right? And you're like, and it's a little jazz song. But if they actually know about the history of the subculture that was the birth of jazz, they'll know about the little underground parties they'll throw, how they would dance and throw each other around, and people, you know, not everybody was invited to those places. Not anybody could go because those weren't like beautiful neighborhoods. These places were held, and when it started, jazz wasn't held in ballrooms. It was held in shacks and and just like the blues. Not everybody had the balls or the guts to go into those places because they're in the neighborhood. They're in the bad hood. That's where it grew up. It grew up with the hungry. It grew up with the suffering. We have to find a way to make ourselves happy. Like we
Yeah.
said, we used to make ourselves we weren't about money. When you're poor, you're not about money, you're about moments and laughter and stuff like that. And it's the same thing with a lot of these things that we take as an everyday item or everyday uh thing. And actually probably was once considered, you know, bad or considered taboo, you know, and is now considered the what you measure quality with. You
Yeah.
want to hear good, you want to hear some good sound and this and that. They'll be like jazz has probably the best acoustics and sounds, and so you start making it to it becomes a measuring tape, and it actually was once tabooed. And the same thing with graffiti. It was once a taboo subject, and it's already getting to where it's becoming a measuring stick, where you're like, how good is this artist? If you look at how Banksy uses his mind, he uses his mind with a little bit of our culture, you're in mind, where we used to just get up and give the shock effect. He uses that with a little bit of new culture where it's beautiful art. But he always keeps the shock factor, and that's what makes it graffiti.
Yeah.
Graffiti's supposed to shock you a little bit. It's not supposed to be a grandma or somebody. Somebody's supposed to be like, "Oh God, who put that?" You want a little bit of
Yeah.
that. Once it becomes normal, it loses its edge.
I'm like, oh, how
And you
pretty.
don't want
Yeah.
to lose the edge. And it's like heavy metal. You don't want to lose that edge. Once heavy metal loses its edge, it's not heavy metal. It just becomes rock. And rock's
Yeah.
good, but heavy metal has that edge.
And they keep on getting edgier and edgier, man, because you have all those subgenres of metal and shit, and
Yeah.
it gets fucking crazier and crazier.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, and the way we did our things then was different. Like, for example, since we haven't talked about it, I'm gonna bring it up because I know you were asking me about it. Was about that Mona the elephant, right?
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Let's talk about that, man. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah. So like back in the day, man, it was about getting up, about the shock factor. You want to shock people. So, of course, being influenced in the 90s, there was a lot of deadheads everywhere, everywhere. And me and, oh, shit, me and Doobie, we ended
No,
up,
you should have said it a second.
I know, me and him,
I'll
we
beep it
ended
out.
up
I'll beep it
meeting
out.
up, me
Later,
and
later.
him, Been influenced by some of these deadheads. So we're already seeing colors and whatever. And the El Paso Zoo was being built. El Paso Zoo was there, but you still have the stadium next to it, the Diablo Stadium.
Yeah.
And they tore down the Diablo Stadium, and they're extending it. So they had the fence. They had all the. It was construction site with the animals inside, right? So we're like, you know what? F it. Let's go over here. Let's do it because we're crazy. We wanted to shock people. So we started walking and climbing the. It has like a little mountain that holds the animals. It's like a little cave looking thing. So we're climbing there. We see Mona the elephant. Mona the elephant was famous for painting. It was a painting elephant. It would paint pictures.
Yeah.
You know?
But wait, wait. So this was at night. They had that fucking I'm sorry, that elephant was just out, like it was just chilling out there, like laying.
Yeah, it was there because it wasn't.
And was there some kind of light, dude, that you were able to see it?
No, it was dark. It was super dark.
So you just see like this big old lump. You're like, yo, was that? I bet you that shit was scary, you know?
Elephant. Yeah, that's why he got off first. He's the one that got off, got on the stomach. He put his name and me, like, because the poor gentle. You know, the thing is, I look at it now and I'm like,
yeah.
You know,
I was like, what the fuck?
Then,
yeah, you know?
But then it was it was like Dennis the Menace or Bart Simpson, you know. You're trying to be a troublemaker where it's gonna shock people. So I get down, we start riding on it and get on the car. And then we hear about it. Boom, popping out. Mona the elephant, Mona the elephant. We never got convicted or anything. You know, and never for reals. Nothing happened to us. But oh my God, it was something that when I woke up in the morning and I started realizing what we did, I was like, what the heck? You know, like, God. But that wasn't the only thing. I mean, we used to plan. That was the thing about those days was I used to plan and be like, okay, for example, this is something that never happened. Okay, maybe it did, but it never happened. So we used to write, and we used to say, okay, I used to plan it. We used to plan it, really plan it. We used to be like, okay, we're gonna go into where they hold all the postal cars. For example, that never happened, right? We're gonna go where they hold all the mailman cars, and we're gonna put our names on all the mailman cars. So when all those mailman cars go to their neighborhoods, it's gonna go to all the neighborhoods in El Paso. So we have to do this all in one day because they're gonna be looking for it the next day, and we'll end up doing all of them. It was the shock factor. It wasn't about just getting up. See, that was the difference between a lot of other writers. They were just write, and they'll write a lot. Me, it was more, I'm going to shock the shit out of you, and I'm going to end up putting it everywhere. My name was everywhere. While I was training these guys to be in my crew, I would be like, first write the name of the crew, and then write your name. So while they were up there writing the name of the crew, I'm putting my name next to every name of the crew. So I'm like getting free advertisement. It was a dirty trick, right? And I would do it. So I got really well known really fast during those days because of that. And I had to change my name, so I didn't just use Gio. I used Alba, Alto, Prison. Like there's a lot of names that I used, and I mean it's advertising. You guys just got to be smart. And it was always an internal competition between all of us. It was fun, but we all had kind of like a competition. Because you live next to Slack, you would see Slack a lot. Next thing you know, you see Zonk everywhere. Zonk, Zonk, Zonk. You know what I mean?
I was only like a little spot. Like that was like my spot. And like going back to like everybody was everywhere. We all had our spots, man, where we would kind of like that was our shit right there. You know, if someone comes around that part, then we take care of that part, and then there you go. They're fucking they're gone. You know, they're crossed out. Well, so everybody kind of kept an eye on their areas and shit.
We had one battle on Montana where like, all right, Saturday. We're gonna tag on Montana. I don't know if it was against ATK or who it was.
I remember that, dude. I got that call and shit, man, because these dudes were doing their shit back in the day, right? And they gave me a call. I was like, all right. And then I called up Idea, like, yo, Idea, man, this dude's calling me up. See what's up. And like he was like, oh, tell him to fucking let's battle it, man. I'm like, all right. So I'm on Messenger and shit. I'm like, yo, dude, you guys down to battle? Fucking take out, man. If we take you out, you're no longer fucking. You're no longer a crew and shit. You're fucking break that shit up.
They always kept writing though, but
yeah, right. They did, man. And yeah, that weekend came up. whoa, there it is. And they're like, yo, aren't you like supposed to stop riding and shit? Nah, they
Yeah.
just kept on going. They kept on trumping it, man. They're like, no, we didn't lose. They kept on
But
going.
it was funny because they will write a lot of people that just to update you, it's all of Montana on Saturday. The next day it's gonna be judged. So everybody has a section, and these guys are driving in their car writing, while we're actually in that section in the alley hanging out or whatever. So when these guys will go and cross or write their name, as soon as they drove by and did a U-turn, it was already tagged on, and they were like, "What the hell? Like, where are these guys?"
Yeah.
And man, it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun. I mean, it evolved. It changed. It started getting more dangerous. You know, people started getting families. People started. We stayed. It was a big crew, but eventually everybody had to go to their place. When I was
Yeah.
24, I got lucky and I got a scholarship for art for Collins College in Arizona,
Yeah, I was gonna
and
go
for
to that
graphic
shit.
design.
I never went.
And
How was it, dude? Let me know.
nah,
What did I miss out, or did I luck
the
out, dude?
adventure, you probably missed out a little bit on the venture, but no, you did good. It was better
Yeah.
where you went.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had me
Yeah.
as a teacher for a bit. They had me being a teacher assistant, which was cool, but Arizona, I was there when they were making all the laws against Hispanics and against Mexicans, and where they could just stop me and then ID me for no reason and just because of the color of my skin. So it was really racial when I was there. It wasn't fun for me.
Yeah.
It was great people. I met great people. I enjoyed uh my time there. But when it came to the city, the way they treated you, I live by Scottsdale, bro. I live right
Yeah,
on
that's where it
Tempe,
was
right
around
in
there.
the
Yeah.
middle. I live right behind Mills, where all the partying will go and stuff. I live right behind there, so I it was fun. Shout out to Verse and Alex and Mike and Rudy, all of my friends that I lived with and got to spend time with over there. But I took the hood with me. It was weird. I went
Yeah.
to college instead of going to the dorm by myself and living with my new roommates. I went in and I had 6 homeboys and homegirls live with me. So I had 2 roommates, one guy from Oklahoma, one guy from San Antonio, and here comes this Mexican kid with the homeboys, and I moved them in. It was hard for me to let go of my neighborhood. I had to take my neighborhood where I went. That's weird.
Yeah.
I think about it. It was like, wow, I didn't do this adventure by myself. And of course, I loved all you guys. I loved all my friends, and I wanted to share that. But it was just like, wow, like you think about it as an adult, like, wow, I was that codependent on my group. That's what it does to you. It does make you codependent to your family. And when you start letting go and start maturing and stuff like that, uh, you gotta still save the love, but you still gotta figure out how to be dependent. And what does Fabian like? Not Geo, but what does Fabian like to do? And what does Fabian, you know what I mean? And it's pretty interesting,
Yeah.
about
In the end,
the
you have to
journey.
see what. Yeah, you have to like do what's best for you, I guess. In the end,
Yeah,
and one
that,
of those. It's crazy that you say that. One of the things that when I was gonna go to that was it the Al Collins or Al
yeah,
Collins
I'll
School
call
of
him.
Graphic Design and shit or whatever,
Yeah,
art and graphic design. I was gonna go, man. My mom's was did all the paperwork. I was gonna hit it up. We were talking about going. Something happened, dude. I don't know. Something kept me here, dude. And that whole being dependent, dude, of like what I already had here at the house didn't allow me to go. Like I didn't want to go, man. And I always think about what would have happened if I would have just said, fuck it, let's go. I became a little bit more independent. I wanted to see what I'm made out of. And nothing, dude. It took me a while, man,
yeah,
to do my own shit. And I think that's what
yeah.
happens with a lot of cats, man, is that we hang
For
on
me,
too much to, well,
for me, I felt so scared of what at that age of what my future was gonna be, because the only future I saw myself was the El Paso package future that the hood gives you, which is selling drugs or doing some kind of crazy to make money. And I was like, nah, I gotta leave. I gotta find out. You know, I know fucking I have dreams and I have aspirations and stuff. But I have a person here that asked a good question, bro. All for the masses, all for the masses.
Yeah, I saw that. I wanted
Yes,
to hit that up. Let's
yeah,
answer that right now, man. Let's see.
he
Can
says,
you
can you
see
see or
all?
tell?
Go for it. Go for
Yeah,
it. Hit it up.
go for it.
All right. Can you see or tell the difference between graffiti work that has been created amongst different cultures or geographical locations?
Yes, yes, that's a good question. And yes, super, super yes. So you'll see, we could talk about countries, Germany, clean, super color. So you could tell the writing right away. You could see the writing in America. You could say East Coast, West Coast, New York.
Different
But
styles.
we could go, yeah, but we could go straight to El Paso.
Let's do
The
that.
Northeast had its own style, had its own letters. We use a lot of S's. A lot of the letters that you see now were actually have roots to us because we used to write a lot. So like the S that goes like this. And so you have certain styles. The East Side had a certain type of S, E. The Northeast had a certain S that would start from the top and kind of loop up, where it's kind of pointing up. You had some people that would, but so yes, the the neighborhoods will usually tell you because this is what would happen is when graffiti started, a lot of people from California were being sent to El Paso because in California the gang banging was so bad that they had to send your primo, you know,
Yeah, go
you're
live with
going
your
to El
cousins over there
Paso.
in El Paso. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're going to your cousins in El Paso, so they'll come here. And a lot of those guys will come here and start teaching the writing that they have. So you'll notice that the Northeast got influenced by a few writers. You'll know, like there must have been a guy that showed some guy the letters, and that guy started spreading it more,
You
you
had your
know.
transplants.
And,
Yeah.
and just like us, somebody showed us, like the guys from California, Excel, Art, Visser, bigs up to Visser because he was here and stayed with us for the summer and started giving us letters and it spread. So a lot of that gets influenced, but there's certain letters that are just El Paso. Like for example, not just El Paso, but they're El Paso. A lot of people from El Paso use it, and they were influenced by, like for example, there's a K that people use, and it goes like that. It's a K,
Yeah.
but the bottom of the K becomes a lightning bolt, right? The bottom of the K becomes a lightning bolt, right?
Yeah.
That one is actually from Excel. He brought it from California. And you could still see the influence on writers that are like 19 years old, 18 years old,
Yeah.
doing the lightning, and they don't know where it actually came from. The first time it was tagged was on the Holiday Inn on the way when you're driving up to downtown. As soon as you go into downtown, it used to be a wall right there. So everybody saw it. Everybody that lived in the city, every little kid that was graffiti influenced saw that K, right? And they start adapting it and putting it into their to writing. A lot of these letters are, you could tell they're from here. And the cool thing is that we're not lost when it comes to other cities. They recognize the history of what we did. We did good work here, you know. It might not have been as talented as the guys from California, but it they're proud of us. They're like, wow, yes, you guys did a good work, and that's what makes me proud because it was not just our dream, it was their dream, and it came from, you know, a little like the same thing, a very few group of guys that started it. And the good thing is that the guys that started over there are so humble that they're they're working on scholarships, they're working on giving back to the community, you
Yeah.
know, and maybe that's something we should start doing a little bit more over here is start working where we're giving back to the community and you know talking to these kids because some of these kids, like I was told not so long ago, they're like, it's because Gio, you don't understand, man. Everybody has a gun now and everybody's shooting at each other and everybody's capping each other. There's a youngster telling me this, and I'm like, yeah, like that was happening when I was growing up, and it paused. It stopped for a while. But yeah, I do understand, and maybe I could reach and talk to you about how you could. You're gonna feel desperate sometimes, like there's no hope, and there is hope. You're always gonna have hope, no matter uh, Even no matter if you went to prison as a little kid, you know, if you went to prison as an adult, there's hope and you can still build a future. Don't
Yeah.
let the lies that society tell you limit you because they want you to be limited. You know, and there's a lot of people that had probation. El Paso had a high percentage of people on probation. A lot of people have been on probation. A lot of people have been done time. I have homies here that did 5 years at the age of 12 and came out of prison at 17, right? And they're part of our family and stuff. And a lot of them you get lied to and you're told there's no hope. Uh, they'll tell you go get a job or all this stuff, but they'll be like, but they don't hire felons. In reality, a lot of places do hire felons. A lot of places do. Like when I got my scholarship, I did the freeway signs, right? And I got busted. I got 10 years probation. It was the first felony probation in the state of Texas for graffiti. So they took my crime and took it to Austin to make a new law. And I did probation from the age of 17 to 27. I got a scholarship at 24. During that time, I felt like I couldn't do nothing. But in reality, I ended up getting a scholarship. And then when they said, what is your crime for? I told them it was graffiti. They got elated. They were like, wow, that's an art crime. Yes, of course you could come to our school. Yes, we want. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I never
Yeah.
seen somebody accept a graffiti writer like that. And but it's because it's another city. They're more mature than us. And they know that they want that aspect. The next generations are going to be graffiti writers. And during that time, right?
Yeah.
But it was.
Yeah. Here they made
It,
a.
sometimes
What's
you
up?
feel hopeless. Sometimes
Yeah.
as a kid you feel hopeless in that, you know.
I think. I think around that time, uh, I had heard that you were gonna get jail time at 16 if you got caught tagging and shit.
Right.
And imagine some kid just tagging it up at 16 instead of going to juvie and shit, they go straight to jail, man. And I don't know how
Yep.
true that was. I don't know. Maybe you can inform me on that because that's what I had heard. And I was like, fuck that. I have better things to do. And that I started hitting up the art classes, man. I started doing art in my house. I was like, shit. I'm like, I don't want to fucking go to jail, man. That shit kept me out.
Yeah.
And I think that was around the time I started getting out. I was like, yo, dude, it's like this shit's getting kind of heavy, man. And I just, my youngest brother, he was a fucking baby, basically my baby.
Yeah.
Yo, that shit was happening. I was like, nah, I can't have that shit going around my house, man, because it was popping off and my house got hit. And I was like, yo, like I had to refocus, man, and started doing more art shit, dude. It was crazy. And taking away a 16-year-old's opportunity to grow at such a young age, at 16, 17, and throwing them in jail, dude, that's shit.
I
That's
did
shitty. Instead of talking to them, man, and like, yo, let's direct you in the right direction, man. Hey, what can you do? Fucking, put them in some kind of art program or something. Who knows?
I reflect on it. So when I got in trouble and I went to court, it was a group of us that went to court. There was other crews that, remember I was telling other crews started tagging.
Yeah.
So there was one crew that got busted too. Check this out. They got the option to go to the military.
Yeah.
They're white kids. I don't want to be, I know it sucks, but it was those days. They got the option to go to the military, not probation or nothing. It was my birthday. I turned 17 that day. I got 10 years probation. So what they were trying to do was, let's make them an example, which is right. Make me an example, but almost categorize him like he's lost. Where they should have actually seen, hey man, let's work with this kid, or you know what, let's give him probation, but not that long, man. 10 years, that's 17 to 27. Those are my craziest times, bro. 17 to 27. What was I doing at that time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was really hard. And thank God my last probation officer was like, just leave, because my judge would want to lock me up for re-election, right? My judge used to use me as, because you remember, Zonk, I used to come out in the newspaper a lot.
Yeah.
They would be like, where is he? 1 year later, where is he at now? You know, they kept doing articles on me, like, right? And
You
it
have
was
all those
pretty tough.
articles?
I have a lot of them, man. I have a lot of them. The cops ended up taking them away. I ended up getting because the thing is, the police used to have. We used to be in the gang task force unit. We used to be like on their list,
Yeah.
and Juarez used to have a magazine that would put the top 10 gangs in the region, and we're in the top one, top two, top three. We're always they considered us a gang, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing I want to make sure people understand is that the graffiti stopped being like that kind of fun when it was graffiti and it became gangbang, it became the same exact thing we're running away from. The thing we wanted not to be a part, it almost started to become that. And I think that that's why a lot of other crews, because a lot of crews have gotten interviewed that we have that are family, right? And they ask them what are some influential crews, and we should be in the top, right? We should be one of the top crews that influence the city, but they don't put us there because of the gang, the tag banging affiliation to it, because it was an ugly part. But you have to embrace the ugly part. You cannot forget your history, and graffiti we cannot be written out of the books. We cannot be forgotten just because it was a ruthless time. They got to show the teeth, and we're the teeth of graffiti. We're not the pretties. We're the teeth. We're the sharp edge, and you got to show that, and you got to talk about it and give it props, because sometimes people are going to forget about it and it's going to repeat. And it might not repeat in graffiti. It might repeat in something else where it becomes competitive and they start hurting each other because of the competition. We're hurting people and people were hurting us that didn't know us. And we didn't know. They didn't grow up. They shouldn't really had any kind of beef, but they got hurt and we got hurt, you know? It was just a culture. Maybe it was like those kids that are on the island and they get stranded in the island. What's that movie called? That book?
Lord of the Flies?
Yeah, it was like Lord of the Flies, bro.
Remember that one? I remember this one time, man, that it tripped me out. I was at Bassett, man. Bassett was fucking closing and shit. And then the truck pulls up, man. All you guys are in that shit, man. There's like full everybody. They're like, yo, Zonk, hey, we're going to go down to this freestyle concert. You remember that? It's down at the Coliseum and shit. All we have to do is bring a can of food, man. They're like, hey, come on in, dude.
What else they were giving?
I was like, yeah.
Can of food or a gun? You could turn in a gun to get a ticket.
I didn't know that a gun for a ticket.
We're going to the gang banging. Right? It was Zapper Rogers, Little Susie. It was all this freestyle music.
Was it like Frankie J and shit and all that? Yeah.
It was this group of gangs, like balls.
Dude,
it wasn't a concert like everybody standing next to each other. It was a concert where it was just balls of groups.
Groups of everywhere, man. And I remember when I watched The Warriors, the movie, it kind of it reminds me of that shit, because everywhere you turn, you guys are like, oh, we would recognize somebody from somewhere, like, oh, those are those dudes over there, those are those dudes and shit. And then and we're right there all huddled and shit, like we're all there, in our group. And we're waiting, all right, look, who's gonna hit us, man? Who's gonna hit us up? Nobody hit us up. And all those little fights started busting out, dude. And I was like, shit. I was like, all right, man. Like, who's eyeing us? And we walked away and everything was cool. And I was like, damn, I don't know if we were. I was like, they would start and they would go back. And they're like, hey, this keeps on going on. We're going to cancel it. And everybody goes home and shit. No one gets to see anything. I'm like, oh, woo, whatever. And then, all right, then we try it out.
We got to see Zapp and Roger, man. We got to see Zapp and Roger. That was
Little Susie.
At the end of Zapp Rogers, that big guy, chunky guy, comes out with a glitter and starts shaking, and the lasers start hitting him. I was like, "What the heck is that?" It was fun. It was fun. It was before I knew what fun was.
I tried to enjoy myself as much as I could, man, but at the same time, kind of keeping an eye out. So I was like, "Dang." So
I figured it out. See, the thing is, because I'll talk to people and they're like, man, you sound like you're so proud of that. And I'm like, I am proud of my past. My past I'm proud of. Maybe the action, if I'm looking at it as like the way you are, I'm looking at it like, what the hell? But I'm looking at it like I'm proud because I learned a lot. As a kid, I had a I had an ego that was so huge. Imagine you're coming out in a newspaper. I don't care if it's good or bad. As a kid, you're like, boom, your head starts getting big
You're
and
that dude
big.
and shit.
Yeah, and I started, and I saw the monster that I started becoming, where I was becoming almost egotistical. Where when my friend FaZe passed away, that shit hit me like a ton of bricks, and it made me realize how much like love I have for you guys and for
Rest in peace,
people.
Chewy.
And yeah, rest in peace, Chewy. And it humbled me where that ego died, you know. But for a while, and it hurts that I used to hurt some of my friends with that ego. And what I'm trying to say is that with power, it magnifies you. So sometimes you end up gaining some power, and you start magnifying the decisions, like ugly decisions, and or the ugly side of you and the pretty side of you, the good and the bad. And once I started seeing that, it scared me. So I never said, hey, let's go jump these guys. I have never. So I started learning. I started learning how to balance, how to be a leader. Because a leader is not a leader like you're doing this. You're a spokesperson. But same as being a spokesperson, there's a danger of you twisting the message and manipulating for yourself. And I learned not never to do that, you know. But any kind of power gives you
Yeah.
that. It gives this like a magnifying glass. So your movements affect people, and that's why if any of our movements hurt, and if anybody listening or people you know, I apologize for that, you know. But it was part of that the monster you end up getting. And the good thing is that I got humbled. It was sad how I got humbled, but it didn't just humble me. It humbled a lot of us, you know. It humbled a lot of us, man.
I can't. Yeah, man, for sure. And going to that whole jumping
It's
thing.
good seeing a lot of these.
Yeah, man, we've seen a lot of people in here, dude. Peer recovery support.
Yeah.
All my life. Hero's
Yep.
life experience of the crew. You know, going 4 years clean. Congratulations, man. That being clean, dude, from like drugs, alcohol, that shit. It's a hard task,
Yeah.
man. Especially if you grow up with that and you start at a young age, and that's all you know.
You
Every
know how
every birthday since like 13, you drink it
yeah,
up or
before
whatever. Like, damn, you haven't had a
yeah,
sober birthday since like 13 on some people, and it's like
yes,
shit. You know, and being clean,
yes.
that's tough, man. I had
Something,
to go
something,
through that too, and like, damn, dude.
because I know you're gonna be talking to Marcelo pretty soon, right? You're gonna talk to
Yeah,
Marcelo. Um, Diet is actually something that helped me because I used to go through manic depression, and what I ate, I started figuring out. And you figure out this when you're old, bro. What you eat actually affects your feeling. You know how you carry yourself through the day. It's your
straight up.
energy. And I started noticing. I started eating clean and running and drinking water more. My depression, it stopped hitting me, right? Because it used to be very dreadful. It is something that it it hits you like a cloud. You won't know when it hits you until it's too late when you're waking up slow and you're waking up
Yeah,
with these thoughts like, oh, another day, or whatever. Diet is very important. And the reason I also bring this up is because there's a lot of us that grew up with us, that grew up in other communities or other groups. They have a type of PTSD or type of a little bit of a lingering hurt, you know, that affects them. And during this quarantine time, I've seen a lot of our friends being affected by the break, by not being able to go out or anything. It's like being a dog in a box, right? You're gonna
yeah.
get sick. And the I just want to make sure all you guys out there, you start eating healthy, take care of yourself, sleep right, and
And then hopefully everybody's,
balance yourself.
yeah, find that balance. And this whole quarantine thing really, messed things up. People losing their jobs and shit, or big old being furloughed, and That's another tough thing, man. It's like, how do you keep on going, dude? Like when there's no jobs for you,
Right.
man, at this moment. So it's kind of tough. So the U.S. gets stuck in that situation. Like, yo, we got to go back and we got to force ourselves back and go through it. You know.
Yeah.
But mental health, man,
Yeah.
for reals, you got to take care of that, dude. Working out, I think working out was one of the things that have helped me out a lot when I started working out. I
Right.
started eating better. Dude, I'll still fucking scarf a Big Mac and later on some pizza and shit, like in a day. And
Yeah.
but in the morning, I'm having like my oatmeal, dude, some eggs, dude, on fucking cranberry juice and shit, whatever. But I guess if you eat, I guess 75% of the time, I guess all right, man. You know, I'm not a dietitian and stuff,
Hold on,
but
hold on.
eat well mostly, man, and work it off, burn it off, be active, and that's one of the main things is being active. A lot of people just sit down, we're like, we'll do that later. No, there's no time for that shit. And then we're getting older, you know, we're worried about fucking testosterone levels dropping and all that bullshit, and that's what goes, that's that hits the brain too, man. A lot of people don't
Well,
realize that.
the good thing is that while we're sharing these stories, there's a lot of bright lights. There's a lot of good that came out of it. We got people that have built their dreams. There's a lot of people that we're proud of. Even the people that are really working on building that. I'm proud of all my friends. You know, I'm proud of all my family members. We got friends that are chiefs in the Navy. We got friends that are working on
Yeah.
video and becoming directors. We got friends that are helping people become sober, helping, you know. And these are all people that at one point felt like the way you felt when you're like, you know what, I got to slow this down. Or like I felt, you know, like there's no escape. We all found an escape. And if there's something that people could share maybe with their kids or something is, you know, don't forget we have a story too, and you could share your story with your kid, but give them the bright light at the end of how we ended up being our own boss. A lot of us that grew up together here, we're actually uh, owners of our destiny. We're doing something we love. What I mean, you know what like you're an art teacher. You're doing something you love. I'm a graphic designer, and it made us strong in that sense, you know, is that we're like, I'm gonna take and be what I want to be. And we stayed in that area. We found out how to exit that angst.
Yeah. You know, when we're telling these kiddos which direction they should take, well, not should take, but I guess be careful, right? And will be that example, and they'll
Yeah.
see it. I tell kiddos, hey, I fucking dropped out of high school, man. We got squirt in here, dude. I dropped out of high school.
Yeah.
Did you ever finish high school?
They ended up making me get, well, I had a GED that was supposed to be turned in for credits. But as soon as I got locked, I got on probation, they ended up locking me up for 2 years. So they took me out of high school. And I would tell them, just let me finish. And they're like, why? That's what you tell me, why? Yeah.
They don't
So
even
once they
believe
tell
that
you
shit. I
that,
tell these
you're like,
kiddos,
yeah, well, I'm not, well, why? You know, I'm not
I
going to
always,
work with you.
yeah. I always tell these kids, man, I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out of high school. Dropped out of high school recovery, whatever. Like twice. One because there was no structure, and the second one was too much structure. I was like, you know, fuck this. I'm gonna go get my GED. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get my GED. I'm gonna go to college. I started planning that, man. So I was like, all right, let's do it. I went to college. I dropped out of that, dude. Like the first semester, I did horrible, man. And then went back. I was like, all right, I'm ready. 2003, I go back in again for another semester. I was like, oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna try this art thing out because I don't know. This one bug, man. This one dude. He's not the bug, but this bug got in my head like about collaborating with somebody. And then I started drawing. I was like, oh shit, I want to do this art thing, man. Then finding out, you know, we want to help artists, man. That's where we were like, hey, helping out artists, teach people what you know, and pass that knowledge down, man, from, you know, everything that you've learned. So when I finally went back and got serious, dude. And I tell students this story. And sometimes they're like, well, how'd you become an art teacher if you dropped out of high school? It's like, dude, go to college, man. If you're gonna drop out, you better have a plan because that's just gonna be hard, dude, if you don't have a plan. and you're gonna sit
And
around,
then
dude, and you're gonna go for a job that someone else has a high school diploma and you have a GD, yo, they're gonna pick that other dude, man. But you got that
yeah,
college, you got that high school, same thing. It's like it's a battle, dude.
yeah, unfortunately, it's about the paper, about the
It
certificate,
is.
about money or whatever. It's about the society working on the
It can be,
paper.
yeah.
It will ignore your talent over that paper. They have trained these people that hire to look at that paper more than to look at who they're talking to. And
Yeah.
sometimes, for example, like my cousin, he wrote a song and it became a #1 hit in Mexico. He's a dropout. He used to work in the elevators as an elevator man. He worked from that. He got to that point, a dropout, to where he's the professor of history in the University of Chihuahua without a high school diploma.
Yeah.
But it's because they found out how talented he is, right? They started seeing who he was. Oh, America is not made like that. America, you're not going to be taught, oh, wow, he's talented. I want him to run my company. They're going to be like, he's talented. Too bad he didn't go to college. They're going to be
Yeah,
like, wow,
it
he's
can be.
talented. Too bad he has this. And that's the way our society works. The good
Yeah.
thing is that you could still become your own boss. You could start your own
Yeah,
business.
that's the thing,
A
man.
lot of these people are hidden from the regular people, from us normal people that are options for us.
Yeah, like
It,
yeah, I'm glad you brought that because I want to talk about. I want to take that in. Can you hear me? Okay.
yeah, I can hear you good.
Good.
I can hear you.
Because I want to talk about, yeah, becoming your own boss. And of course, if you don't, like I said, if you're going to drop out, you better have this fucking plan, dude. And if you're going to become your own
Yeah.
boss, become your own boss. And that's the thing. You got to put in that hustle. You got to put in that time. You're going to do your shit. And I want to talk about, I don't know, you want to take questions right now or should we go into the resin, man? I want to talk.
Let's take a question.
All right, let's see what's up. Let's see if there's anything cool in here. All right. Okay, that was another one. This goes back to a while back ago. Do you remember King hit the Geronimo wall with the paint and rollers?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, he
Yeah.
went to my house. So that day we were cruising in my Nova. I had a white Nova, and we rat packed it with like 12 people. Like we packed it, packed. So we're driving and we're packed, and then the cops pulled me over. And when they pull me over, it's like 12 cop cars, 10 cop cars just surround us. And then they pull us over and they find uh, spray cans, a lot of spray cans. They find marijuana, my marijuana. I was smoking it in that time. Sorry, kids, or whatever. Sorry. I'm telling you what happened in '95. All right. So they stop and they find all this stuff and they find us all there. And the cops show up. They pull the guns out on us and they're like, "Where's Gio? Gio, where's Gio? Gio." And I'm like, and they're like, "Is that your Gio?" And I'm like, "No, I'm Steven. I use my little brother's name. What a dick. I use my little brother's name. No, I'm Steven." And they're like, "No, we're looking for Gio." And then the guy points the light back on me. He's like, "Gio." He's like, "We're just stopping you to tell you we're looking at you." He's like, "Go ahead and keep that. Go ahead and keep your cans. Go ahead and keep all that. We're gonna let you go." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" 12 cop cars surrounded me, pulled guns on me, just to tell me that they're looking at me, right? Because we're like a gang, so they're spying on my house and stuff. So I go home. Andy's with me. All these people are with me. No, they're not with me. Andy's at my house because you know how my house was. People were still hanging out there even if I wasn't there. I show up and I tell them the story, and they're like, "Nah, we're gonna go hit up Geronimo. We're gonna do rollers." I'm like, "Don't go out, dude." They just pulled me over. They gave me all that stuff back so we could go do damage because they want to bust us. Remember, I'm like kind of like a celebrity. If I get busted, I'm gonna do 10 years in prison. Right?
They want to
Like, it's gonna come out in the newspaper. It'll be big. And I was like, "Don't go out." No, they went out. They tagged. They did the rollers on Geronimo. The helicopter showed up. The dog showed up. These guys are running through yards and not getting. I think Andy got caught by the dog. Like
Damn.
I was like, yeah, they were waiting for you. They even had that like a helicopter on call. Like they already had the chopper there. One time, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was me and Manny. We tagged on this billboard that's like this, right? It has one billboard here and it has one billboard here. We climbed on it and we're tagging on it. We're tagging on it. The helicopter shows up. The cops show up. And they're underneath us. The billboard's right here. Between those two billboards, there's ladders and there's all this setup. We end up falling asleep in there. The cops and everything eventually left because we were there till the sun came up. The helicopter ran out of gas, so I had to go back. The cops were like, forget this. But they even probably thought we're like, are those guys really up there? You know what I mean? Like we're there so long hiding that they're like, well, maybe they're not up there. Just crazy adventures like that, you know? Just crazy adventures. But now, I
don't know if you can see it now. What do we have to do?
Pause.
What do we have to do in order to help our population understand that graffiti is a positive culture? What do you think, G?
And that is a positive. That's a good question. So I had one teacher that's where they teach us about fonts. And I enter college, and I go, Mister, graffiti is like graphic. He's like, no, it's not. He was so angry. He was like, no, it's not. It's not. Graffiti is not typography. Graffiti is not design. And I started explaining that have certain letters that we know, that we have rules on, like the A. The graffiti A is pretty basic. A lot of people use it, and so that same year, Comedy Central had their logo changed to a spray can stencil. It'll be Comedy Central, and it'll be a spray can stencil, paint dripping, and it was the Chappelle Show was on during that time, so it was already becoming mainstream, and the way you could make the world accept it is our generation is starting to become older. Mine, and then I got a generation a little bit older, like my crew started in 88. So a lot of the people you're gonna start, if you're young, you're gonna start navigating in life through are actually ex-graffiti writers, are actually accept graffiti more. So little by little, graffiti is gonna be into the culture, and it's because the generation's getting older and older, and that's the way it's going to be accepted. That's the only way it's going to be accepted, like completely. And it's because the future generation became the ruling generation, and the younger generation becomes a ruling generation.
Yeah, they're getting into those positions as they get older.
Starts going to
and they're introducing
the older ones.
Having it bleed through. Just like with that music, when you hear like a punk song in a commercial, you're like, what the fuck? But there's someone that grew up with that. They're doing a commercial and they threw on that music. One of the big influencers that I remember seeing, it was around the Jefferson area. This dude named Magic, rest in peace. There was always that guy. I would see his work. My mom would take me to this place because she was worried I was getting into drugs and stuff. And on the way over there, I saw just Magic just written all over the Jeff area. I don't know if anybody remembers Magic. And that was one of my big influences at that time too, like his style. There he is.
Yes, I'm listening.
Can you hear me?
I'm listening.
You can hear me now? Right on. Do you remember Magic? Yeah. That was like around, almost like your area.
Yes, I ended up getting into his crew, KOR. I was part of that. The
Kings of Reality, is that what it is?
Kings of Rebels.
Was it Kings of Reality or Kings of Rebels or what?
Rebels. Yeah, well, we used to call it all these names, Crazy Out Rebels and Kings of Reality. Who got me in was a guy named Rebel, I think. Well, his Magic, bro. He had badass marker style, right?
He did, man.
It's so futuristic for that time. I've always wanted to talk to that kid. But the last thing I heard was they cut his fingers off, like the mob cut his fingers off or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard that rumor.
I know there was a lot of rumors, dude, about that kid, being dead and someone killed him, whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember I saw him. One time I had some friends were like, hey, we're gonna go to the homie's house. And I went, and they're like, "Oh, this dude magic and shit." I was like, "No shit!" And I started talking, almost fanned out, dude. I was like hyped up and shit.
Yeah.
And I told him, "Yo, dude, like, there's all these
Horrible.
rumors and shit about you, this and this and that happening to you." He's like, "Nah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, we were cool, man." And he was a fun guy to chill with that night. And that was like the one and only time that I got to hang out with him.
Yeah, he actually would hide from. I never got to meet him. I would kick it with the other guys, but yeah, it was somebody I wanted to tell. Man, your styles are badass. Because the thing is, what he did was invent his own style, and it was so clean, almost looked like wild style writing.
Yeah, and it was like a lot of boom. It was like real thick, man. He got it
with a triangle A.
right here.
Yeah, and then all like slanty, crazy. It was cool.
Right here on
It was really cool.
Someone said dice right here. Because who remembers the Skate
what's up,
City
guys?
days? I remember we went to a skate demo over here by, you know where the corner bakery is now, off of like Airway, and right there by the track 1, that little area.
Yes.
You know how it was I don't know if you remember back where it was like a little factory. It was like a little warehouse and shit. That was like a skate
like
demo.
storage.
Yeah, that was like, there was some graffiti writers and the others in like those graffiti writers in the skate days. And I remember when we went that we were gonna get jumped, dude, by some crew, man, that were skating, and nothing happened. We actually had to bounce out, dude, before anything happened, dude. And we missed out on that demo. No, that was weird.
Yeah, that's cool.
So skating, graffiti. Idea remembers those days, all the skate days.
Yeah.
You know, shit.
Well, I do a lot of design for Crooks, you know, and I ended up doing a lot of designs for a lot of these brands. And me, I never skated. I mean, I will hang around with you guys, but I did designs for Baker, for Death Wish, for Volcom, for I did stuff for Lizard King, stuff for that St. Pierre guy,
Dom St. Pierre,
he's a French skater. Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I end up meeting these guys, and they're like celebrities. But you know how skaters are? They dress like down to earth or bummy or, you know, hippie and stuff. So
well, it depends. It depends on.
I'm thinking. Well, they're doing demos and they're kicking it, so they're really in their clothes, right? And Crooks, Jesse will send them to my house and be like, "Hey, man, they want to hang out and they want to, feel like they're at home." So I'll go scoop them up.
Oh,
and I'll hang out with these famous skaters without knowing that they're celebrities. And really get to know them as people and stuff. But a lot of them have had their like posters when they come into town. I do their posters, or I've done designs that, like, we did one that Crooks did, and they made a shoe out of it, the Crooks shoe, and it's fun, man. It's a cool like other subculture that is really goes hand in hand too, you know.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
And then with skateboarding back in the day, we had that was our transportation, man, to go from here to there. And then while you're skating, you're kicking it, you're riding at the same time. And that's what we were doing, man. It was me, Slack, and Hector and Anthony. We'd go skate, we'd go hit up the art center, dude, and get some supplies. And we'd walk back, dude, up Montana, dude, and all, you know, with our streaks, and go home and splice them up and shit, you know, put them all back together. And that was fun. That was some fun stuff, dude. You know, talked about the beginnings, you know, the freeways, you know, you did your time for that. All right. You know, the resin community involvement.
And I learned from it, and
yeah, for sure, dude. And that's the thing, man.
Yes.
Is if you're not learning from your mistakes, and I don't even know, man. You know, just keep on creating, dude.
And it's funny because the way I look at it as a mistake. I look at it, but also I do have some pride towards it, because it is my past.
Yeah.
It's not just my past, but it's a story of all past. So when I did all that stuff, it wasn't just my story. It became the story of the city, and sometimes we get measured in the subculture by other cities, like how they hold it down here, and it's one of the weights that hold us into a really graffiti, like we didn't play with it, we actually took it serious. And so yes, as I look at it from far, I'm like, oh, it was bad, but at the same time, it is the story that's just not my story, it's your story, it's this city's story.
We,
That's why I'm sharing it, that's why we're doing this, is because we're sharing the story of your community, of how it was at one time, and how art so influenced in why you see so much art nowadays. And you could root it down to our generation. We brought a lot of that into the light. And a lot of us, not me, not just me, a lot of us brought this into the light. We got people that didn't really get into the graffiti like the way I did. And our standout, like my homeboy Graphics, man, he's an amazing artist. He's always been piecing.
Graphics.
He's really good. And he never did the foolish stuff that we did, hung out with us, never went to that point, and shined, and was able to shine, and is a successful artist that we could be proud of,
You can see all this art.
There's a lot of us like that.
Yeah, you can see his art all over the city, man, and what's just cool about that?
He's very unappreciated, and he should be appreciated. There's a lot of people that get the limelight before he does. And he should have got the limelight a long time ago.
Yeah,
for real.
Me and Graf, we go back a bit, and I'm gonna interview him soon. I'm gonna talk to him, get him on this, talk about.
Because right now he's not talking to me. Right now he's mad at me. So good. I'm not mad at him. I love that guy. Yeah, I love that guy. We're friends. That's how good friends are. Good friends are like that, right? And he's a family. He's not just a friend. He's my family. And right now he's upset with me. But one of these days I see that, we'll talk. But that's for us.
Yeah.
But man, I give that guy so much props, and he deserves so much more, And if you're gonna do a story on him, that's good. That's really good. If anybody else has any more questions, we could answer. But we should do a part 2. That'll be cool. Maybe have a little group one.
Yeah, man, a little group one. Dude, I want to do a little group one. I want to get people's their versions of what was happening at that time.
Yes.
And that'd be great, dude. Definitely a part 2. Who knows when that's gonna come up? Yeah. I got a lot of cool heads, dude. And of course, tell Idea, man, is he down for later? Not later today, but like another time. Can you hear me, Idea?
Yeah. He says yes.
It'll just be me and you, man,
yes,
and
sure.
we'll shoot the shit. And don't be shy. People here think you're shy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I missed that laugh, bro.
Jen, you're right, Jen. You're right, Jen. Yes.
Graffiti became a culture that spread across the world from where it started to what it has evolved into is definitely something to be proud of, for sure. That being in the crew, having known everybody at that time, it was a special time for me, man. I learned a lot. I was part of something, and man, it was. I don't regret anything, man. Don't regret anything, man. Yeah. Right? And I would have known all these cool ass people, man, if it wasn't for that.
Yes. Yep. I'll probably be a boring person, very boring person. But you know what? That's something that it helped me become who I am, and the brilliance that people see in me is all due to you guys, or due to the upbringing, and you guys help, bring me up, and just like I helped each other. We raised each other up. Besides our parents raising us, we raised ourselves up, and all of our achievements are something that is not just an achievement for one person, but achievement for the whole group, for all of us. So we're proud of you being a teacher. Those are some of the things when people ask me, how's this person doing, or this, you're one of our orgullos, something that we're proud of. And I want you to know that. And a lot of people that are listening here are listening because of who you are and the respect you have given people, and you earn that, and you're an ambassador to us. Everybody that meets you and sees the greatness in you, is seeing the greatness in all of us. And that's why you're an ambassador for us. And not just you, all of you guys that are listening, that we're part of the family, you guys are ambassadors of us. And whenever anybody says, wow, how awesome that person, or wow, look at how he works, or admires some kind of ethic from you, it's part of us too. And we're proud of all of you guys. And, and I know that we influence more than we actually know. Sometimes we might think we don't influence anybody, but there's always somebody taking in, and there's always somebody taking out, right?
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure, bro. It's been a pleasure,
Dude, fucking has.
That's
man.
for sure.
And it's dude, there's like so many stories, and hopefully next time on a part 2, there'll be nothing but stories, man.
Yes.
We definitely just need to do nothing but
Yes.
stories, because you should have seen your face light up when you talked about that incident with King, with the cops' cars and shit. You're like, oh, boom,
yeah.
story, yes, and let's do that. And I don't know if you want to do a couple more right now, or you feel like it's dragging you. You want to finish up your night, or you want to do a part 2? You tell me.
That's for the next one.
Next one, part 2, pure stories and shit.
Really think about a lot of these things. Yes. Because one thing I want to actually do on the next one is talk a little bit about how, as a community and as a group, and the power of that, and how that changes things. And our group changed some scene, and graffiti scene, and a little bit of El Paso. But there's other groups, there's other ways that you could get a group and change things for the positive, and we could touch on that on the next one,
Yes, dude. Not probably, man. We will, right? We will,
for sure.
because I want to hear like how the Marcelo, how you met that dude. I want to hear, like, because you said how you met Ness and shit, but you didn't go into Marcelo.
Because Marcelo and Nixal are family. That's like my brothers, like family.
Everybody.
My sister has kids for me. Yeah, and man, what a humble family that accepted and opened up their arms with us, and man, they influenced us a lot.
Yeah,
and they're very good people.
Yeah,
very good people, very inspirational, man. You could get inspired just by hanging around with them.
Yeah,
man, Marcelo was going to be a famous skater at 13. He was coming out on Thrasher, bro.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
At
next
12.
week too, man, because a lot of people didn't believe it, and he showed me. One day we were riding, he's like, dude, check it out, because like I guess he thought I didn't believe him and shit either, man. But I was like, oh shit, I believed him, but it's like I saw it and I was like, oh fuck, I saw him in the magazine. I was like, that's dope, dude. And that was pretty hell. No, that was dope. That was sick. So next time, nothing but stories, dude. Nothing but stories, man. And hopefully nothing.
Stories.
We're not.
And you know how I am. I could talk forever. I'm a storyteller, man. I've always been. So I'll be ready. Well, much love, man. Thank you, Zon.
Yes, dude.
Have
Thank
a good
you,
one, man. And continue to work. It's gonna be good. And much love to all of you guys listening. And those that will listen later on. I hope you guys take a good part out of this.
Well, check it out. Let's do a roll call. You want to do a roll call here and say everybody that's in here? Come on, let's roll. Good read. Man, there's too many, man. I'm like, everybody, what's up? Thank you very much for showing up. Man, there's a lot of you guys.
Yeah, we got Donnie.
Yeah, man. All right, man.
We got Bonnie too. We got
everybody.
Yeah, we got Mitch, Mir. We got Dice. We got a lot of people.
Yeah.
Christina.
We're gonna write all these names.
I met Andy, your cousin King, across the street. He was my neighbor, and man, he was a crazy little kid with long hair and a little thing in the back. Oh yeah, we'll talk about all that, man. Much love.
Part 2.
Right.
Hey, we should do it soon, though.
Love you guys.
Definitely soon. All right.
Yeah.
Later's G. Later's
Idea.
Weeks
and we'll do it.
Idea. All right, man. Later's, guys. Thank you very much.
All right.
Late. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I'm gonna post this thing in a bit. You guys could rewatch it, laugh at it, whatever. But thank you all for joining and hanging out with us. And hope you guys enjoyed this little reunion down there in the comments section. Thank you for everything. You guys made it fun. Thank you for hanging in there. All right, y'all. We'll see you soon. Later.
Bye.